Welcome to the video, everyone. Um, First, let me just break it down because this is a little bit different. I'm warming up here. We're going to do forward scoop med ball throws, 10 sets of one with a 15-pound med ball. But the style of the video is going to be a bit different than what I've been doing in the past. As you can tell, it's a longer video. So in the beginning, you're going to see, I'm going to talk a little bit about my squats, a little bit about what I'm doing there, give a couple workout tips, and then I'm going to go into the workout itself, where there's going to be a bit of music playing with it. And at the end of the video, there's going to be a car talk on the way home. So if you're sitting down watching while eating some food, watching YouTube while eating some food, that's great too. If you just want to listen to car talk, it's probably about 15 minutes long. Maybe put that on your car ride to work or something like that. But I hope you enjoy. Please let me know if you guys enjoy these kind of videos, and I will keep putting them out. If there's any kind of content you guys want to see from me, please let me know, and I will try to make that content. All right, guys. Have a good one. Hope you enjoy the video.
All right, guys, welcome back. First training day after getting back from Iceland, my vacation. So it's super, super important that when you get back after like a hiatus or doing something different, whether it's a vacation, maybe you have to travel for work or something like that, try to get back into a good routine as quickly as possible. Use this time, the time that you get back, to set your routine up for the future, right? So if you're typically, like for me, for instance, I'm gonna try to get to bed just 30 minutes earlier. Try to get to bed by 10 p.m. every night. And the reason that is a goal, I've been struggling to get to bed at an earlier time before my trip to Iceland. Then obviously Iceland, jet lag, time change, and all that. I'm not gonna try to set a new routine while I'm on vacation. But I feel nice and I feel like I have a reset button. I just press the reset button right when I get back. So now it's going to be vital for me to make sure when I reset, I set a good habit and a good schedule going forward, right? So with that, training first day back is very important, right? Now some people, traveling can hit you hard. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to go in and have a hard training day immediately the first day you get back. But you should just do some type of training, whether it's lifting weights, doing a little cardio. If you want to train first thing in the morning, wake up, try to train first thing in the morning, right? And try to set that, whatever that time might be for you. Maybe it's 7 a.m. or something like that. Try to stick to that. For me, wasn't going to be the case today, just because of I had no food in the house, had to go do that, had some client work to do, so I had to check all that button off. But I have a bit different schedule, and for me, training is always going to be an absolute. But I did want to get my day one started on a Sunday, and here we are. So quick tip. This is a Elite FTS safety bar. You might notice with safety bar, some axle bars, some specialized equipment. The collars, your standard collar, might not fit very well on the bar. So what you want to do is, I don't have straps with me, but you can take your collar, loop your strap into like the, not at a point of the joint, but on the side of the collar, loop the strap through there, slide it on, and we'll make the collar tighter on the bar so the plates don't rattle around, right? If I put this on the bar with nothing in it, the plates are gonna move, the collar's not gonna do anything. It's gonna slide all like that. Now, I don't have straps with me today. So what I'm gonna do instead is I'm gonna use a paper towel. So I just took a standard hand paper towel, folded it up as much as I could, boom, fold it in half a bunch. Then I'm gonna fold it in half, that was hot dog style, hamburger style. Then what I do, fold it a little bit more, create like a wedge almost to put in the collar. So now when I put it on my bar, I don't know if you can see this or not, probably can't. I'm sliding on the bar and it's creating a lot tighter of a wedge. Let me show you. So I just slid on the bar. Now it's going to create a lot tighter of the wedge. and the collar's not gonna move, right? You can even go tighter if you want. So today we're gonna see if we can work up to, I believe it's heavy triples, up to 600 pounds on the safety squat bar. Nice trick you can do when you're warming up for squats. You don't always have to go through a ton of different drills, like 99s, although those are good. If you got the time to do it, definitely do it. But your best warm up for any movement is going to be that exact movement. So right now, my left hip, it's a bit tight. Not anything crazy, just a little bit tight. So I know I need to make sure I kind of warm this up a little bit more. So what I'm gonna do, get nice and tight, set my position, and I'm gonna sit here at the bottom. Don't rest too much. Get in that good position and just sit at the bottom here. This is gonna be the best way to work on your squat mobility by training the squat, right? I can go on a huge rant on mobility exercises. I've done a shit ton of mobility exercises for different issues I've had in the past. I don't know if my mobility has improved all that much from them. Now, I didn't practice my mobility and take my mobility as serious as my actual training, but I did take it very, very serious. Like, I would do it religiously before every workout. I would go through these mobility things, these mobility drills. For a while there, I would go months at a time where I would do short mobility workouts 3 times a day. And I don't feel like it did much at all. And the reason for that, in my opinion, is because as much as you're going through that mobility drill, you're not really loading it. Your body's not, you can, if I want to pec mobility, for instance, I was doing a stretch here. I'm getting a good stretch there, and I can rest there, and I could even like try to squeeze my arm back and try to work to get that mobility. I'm still not really, I'm not teaching my body to move in that range of motion. And in the end, you have to teach your body how to move in that range of motion for you to access that mobility, right? What I will say is I started doing, 3 times a week, nothing crazy, some Muay Thai stuff, right? Which is punching, kicking, and all that crap. And when I first went, my hips were tight, my low back felt it all. But now when I go, my kicks have improved. I feel like they're not great, but they're getting a lot better. My ability to throw my knee is getting a lot better. My ability to rotate my upper body is getting a lot better. And that's because when I do the movement, I'm not trying to do it sloppy, I'm trying to do it with good form, but I am putting some amount of intent behind it, right? And I'm doing the movement, and we're doing the movement, and we're practicing, and we're practicing, and practicing. And when I throw my kick, I'm not throwing it like sloppy, I'm trying to throw it and kick. So I'm forcing my muscles to adapt and to access that new range of motion, right? Now, while you're doing this though, it's very important to listen to your body, right? So if I'm going, and I did a hold at the bottom of my squat here, and my hip felt more irritated, and I threw another plate on and it gets more irritated, and another plate, and even if I'm pausing it, it's not helping, it's just getting more and more irritated, well then I know I might need to back off for the session, right? That's listening to your body. All right, I'll talk a little bit later in the video. I'm gonna do all my sets with the SSB, and then after that, take you on for some other stuff. All right, here. I think I got the camera set up just fine. Not the most original idea, car talk on the ride home, but Sam Solik, although I think I've said this before, although we have different goals. We have, what he's doing and what I'm doing different. I saw one of his videos early on before he had 1 million followers, so I was definitely not the first person to ever discover him. But I saw one of his videos and I saw how cool he was, and not how cool he was, but like I saw that he was being successful and being his authentic self while he was doing it, and I thought that was pretty cool. So then I decided, hey, if he can do this and he's making these videos, I think I should put myself out there. And that's kind of when I started. That's when I made my first video on how this natural benches 500 plus pounds, which did very well. 22,000 views. That was pretty cool. After that, I started doing more of like a vlog type style video, and with that, it's a slower build. I understand, not an issue. But and then I saw, I met Theodore in Iceland, and I was watching his videos, and he does the same car talk thing, and I just think it's this nice, easy format. It's not the most original format, but what's original is the ideas that we're sharing and the person who we are, right? We're just trying to find how the best way to make it very digestible for the viewer to watch. And if the fact of the matter is Sam found that way, why not copy? Why not learn from him? So anyways, talking about the training a bit today. Safety bar squats. I really like, so the safety bar squat, what it does, it loads the weight in front of you a little bit more like a front squat. I wouldn't say it's exactly like a front squat, but it loads the weight in front of you a little bit more, therefore making you be a little bit more upright and loading the quads a bit more. Very different from your low bar squat, which is going to load the hips a bit more, make it a little bit more hinge-like, right? So, although I like the feeling, I feel like I hit depth really well. I feel like my lower body, I like the groove that the safety bar squat provides. I don't feel like I can get as tight in my lats in my upper body. So with like the 570 squat, it might have been 575. I'm gonna have to double check the weight of the bar. But so for the 570 squat and the 600 squat for 3, it definitely, it was a grind, but I don't feel like it was a grind because my legs were weak. It was just a grind because I'm not very efficient in that movement pattern. I know I've been training it for 4 to 8 weeks. Again, my apologies for not totally remembering, but I think it might have only been about 4 weeks. So I've only had, let's say, between four or 5 training sessions practicing the safety bar squat, right? Because I don't have a high frequency of safety bar squatting. I have a higher frequency of legs and squat type movements, but for the safety bar itself, it's not very high, right? So that kind of brings me to a point I want to talk about, and I had this discussion with one of my athletes who was at the gym at the time I was there training, and I helped him out with a little bit. Now, he doesn't do powerlifting, and although we're focusing on building his strength, building his size, he's a high school lacrosse player, obviously that's not the main goal. So there's other things in training that we do, one of which is it's a kneeling jump into a broad jump, okay? So this is kind of the point I want to make. When he was first doing his kneeling jump into a broad jump, and maybe I'll see if I can insert the videos here. When he was first doing it, he went kneeling, basically, so he's kneeling on the ground, and what he does is he explodes up. He explodes up into kind of a squat position, and then from that squat position, he jumps into a broad jump, right? Now, we've been practicing this movement, again, for about 1 or 2 blocks once a week, so he's had it, maybe he's done it about 6 times, right? He does it for 10 sets, but he's only practiced it once a week for 6 weeks. So he's doing the movement, and we're looking at it, and I say, you know what? When you go from your kneeling position, he's trying to explode up into kind of that broad jump position and then jump forward, right? The goal is to create power. The goal is to train his stretch shortening cycle of the muscle, basically that elastic component of the muscle, so there's a quick turnaround. So when we're training for athletics, right, if we're training a sprinter, if we're training a lacrosse player like he is, you want to be able to make very quick movements, right? The eccentric phase to the concentric phase, or the negative to the positive phase of a movement should be very quick. We want that turnover to be very quick, right? Kind of the opposite of like hypertrophy, right? If I'm trying to be a bodybuilder and I'm doing a leg press, I don't want that to be very quick. I want to have that time under tension, that control, right? But we're trying to get him more explosive. So he does it the first time. He goes from his kneeling position into his broad jump position, and then jumps from there. And he told me, he's like, it feels very good. It feels very good. I feel like I'm able to put a lot of power and a lot of effort into it, and he goes pretty far. But we looked at the video and it's like, it looks like your turnover from the not from the kneeling to the broad jump position, but from basically from the turnover from when his foot hits the ground from that kneeling jump into the broad jump, it's very long. And again, like I said, we want that to be quick. So it's very long when he was doing it. So I said, listen, when you go from your kneeling jump and you land for that broad jump, don't land like in a good bent over squat position where you're, very, stable. You want to be stable, but I want you to land with a bit leaning forward a little bit more, right? Have your center of gravity a little bit forward, falling forward, so you're in a better position to jump from, right? So he does it. He performs the next set where basically, because of that position that he's in, where he's leaning forward a little bit more, he's able to have a quicker turnaround of that leaning, that from the broad jump, from the kneeling position to the broad jump. He had a quicker turnaround. It was a lot faster, and he actually went farther. But after the set, even though he went farther, he said, I don't feel like I was able to explode through it as much, right? Because it's a new movement. But he actually went farther than when he was doing it before. All right, so this is long story short. When you're training, especially when it's new and you're just learning a movement pattern, you're going to get much more benefit of focusing on performing and executing the movement with great technique than you ever will by just trying to muscle your way through the movement. This even applies to things like squats, bench, and deadlifts. Yes, they're simpler movements. They're not like your Olympic lifts. They're much more simple. But if you take a guy, and you have a lifter A and lifter B. It's kind of a meme here, but you have lifter A, lifter B. Let's say lifter B, they're both novices here. They both are learning to squat. Lifter B goes into the gym and he lifts as hard as he possibly can and puts in 100% effort. But his effort is not into perfecting the technique of the squat. His effort is just how much weight can I put on the bar. So either he's quarter squatting, his knees are collapsing in, he's rounding his back, all of these things, right? Now, he might be going into the gym and putting 100% effort by putting as much maximal load on the bar, but he's not performing the movement very efficiently. Then you have lifter A. He goes in and he performs the movement as hard as he can within the given boundaries of performing the movement with good technique, right? That lifter A is going to progress much faster than that lifter B. And the reason is, there's multiple reasons, but one of the reasons is because once you can learn this movement, you're decreasing the amount of other training variables impacting that movement, right? So if I go in and I have a lifter, and sometimes he squats with perfect, and sometimes he squats with horrible knee cave, week to week, and trust me, I coach some people like this. Sometimes you'll get lifters, and you're trying to make sure you need to perfect the movement, and they perfect the movement, and it looks good, and then the next set they kind of lose focus, and their technique and everything like that is completely off. It's very hard to progress because what you're doing is you're changing variables around. Instead of just focusing on, all right, here's my squat technique, I'm increasing sets, I'm increasing reps, I'm increasing weight. Now you're doing, I have a variable squat technique and I'm trying to increase the sets and reps and weight, but my squat technique is constantly changing. So then if your squat technique is constantly changing, 1 week you might have good technique and you're able to put on weight. The next week you're being lazy, you're not focusing, and you have to decrease the weight. We have an issue there, right? So back to me and the safety bar squat. The reason that 600 and 570 is so difficult, or was so difficult, was just because I'm not very proficient in that movement, not as nearly proficient as I am in the low bar squat. I guess if I were to wrap up this message after ranting for about 10 minutes, is that when you're lifting, we need to make sure we're lifting with passion. We need to be lifting, heavy, close to failure, but you always have to be lifting within the guides of good technique. It does not need to be perfect technique all the time. It needs to be good technique, okay? So anyways, that was the safety bar squats. After that, I forgot to film, but I did 2 sets of dumbbell Bulgarian split squats. Those felt pretty good. Did some single leg presses. Those felt very good. Glute ham raises. Can't remember if I filmed that or not. Glute ham raises. This could be a perfect example of good technique, not necessarily perfect technique. Glute ham raises, it was pretty good technique. I'm sure there's things I could improve on, but I felt it a lot in my hamstrings. I got that stimulus to kind of support my hamstrings, which supports my hips, which is important for my my deadlift and my squat, obviously. And then after that, I was supposed to do standing cable crunches. And I did one set and my entire abs just completely locked up. Horrible cramps. I think, just getting back from flying yesterday, hydration has not been the best. Food has still been a little wacky because I had no food in the house this morning. So I was like, that's probably why I'm cramping up. I don't have the salt and the hydration in me as much as I need to. Plus, my abs always seem to just cramp up like that. Tis what it is. But I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to kind of set my schedule going. I have a trip to Italy in like 8 weeks. Obviously, very thankful that I have the opportunity to travel. But at the same time, sometimes, and I'm traveling with my family, and we're going to see, educate, explore Italy, learn about the history of Italy, the Roman Empire. I mean, it's just completely, historically, just an amazing place. But sometimes, especially after just getting back from a vacation and then going and traveling again, I like my routine. But I'll find a way to train and get the food in, and Operation 265 is still a go. Yeah. And I also I'm going to do a strongman competition. Again, inspired by my friends from Iceland. I'm going to do a strongman competition in 3 weeks. Now, talking to Theodore, I asked him, like, how many times a week do you compete a year? And he said he competes, I have 5 or 6 times. And then he was telling me that his, the last competition of the season is basically in November. And it doesn't pick back up until June. It's like, I wish there was some during the winter. It's like, dang. In powerlifting, you might compete twice a year. I mean, it depends on the level you're at, but if you're at a higher level, it's not like you can go and you're probably not the best to go and compete like 4 or 5 times a year like he's doing, especially in that small competitive window. But I heard someone say once before that strongman, because of the different events, although, again, it's maximal weight, but because the events are so different and you might be doing different things each time, it's like you can train that a little bit more and a little bit more. So I kind of enjoy this car talk. I think I'll go with it. I'll continue with it moving forward. I think possibly trying to do this too while I eat. I'm thinking maybe showing the pre-workout meal, the workout, maybe post-workout, wherever I'm driving to, or maybe post-workout meal. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Obviously, if you made it this far, it's the end of the video. Thank you. If you guys have any recommendations of things that you want to see on this channel, let me know. Anything we can talk about, any questions, anything like that, let me know. All right. Have a good one.